Time to shine the spotlight on the Detroit Lions, one of the NFL's oldest teams and for decades, one of its most star-crossed, a franchise that's produced some of the greatest players in football history, from Barry Sanders to Calvin Johnson, yet spent over 60 years chasing a Super Bowl that's always just out of reach. But something is changing in Detroit. After years of heartbreak, mockery, and rebuilding, the Lions are finally roaring again. But here's the question. Is this the team that will finally bring a Lombardi Trophy to Motown? You're watching Spotlight Stories NFL, where every team has a story and we put them under the spotlight. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. The Detroit Lions were founded in 1930 as the Portsmouth Spartans in Ohio, one of the original small-town teams of the NFL. In 1934, the franchise was purchased and relocated to Detroit, where they were renamed the Lions, meant to symbolize the city's strength and to align with Detroit's baseball team, the Tigers. The move proved successful, and by the 1950s, the Lions were one of the league's premier franchises. Led by quarterback Bobby Lane and running back Doak Walker, the Lions captured 3 NFL championships, 1952, 1953, 1957. Lane was the emotional leader of those teams, gritty, fearless, and known for playing through injuries. But after the 1958 season, when the Lions traded Lane to Pittsburgh, he allegedly cursed the franchise, declaring they wouldn't win for 50 years. Whether real or myth, the so-called curse of Bobby Lane seemed to hang over Detroit for decades as the franchise descended into mediocrity. The 1970s and 80s brought flashes of hope, but little sustained success. Then came Barry Sanders, the electrifying running back who redefined the position. Drafted in 1989, Sanders became the face of the franchise, dazzling fans with his impossible cuts and breathtaking runs. In 1997, he rushed for over 2,000 yards, earning the NFL MVP award. But just 2 years later, at the height of his career, Sanders shocked the sports world by retiring early, frustrated by the team's lack of competitiveness. In the 2000s, the Lions endured some of the darkest years in modern football history. Under general manager Matt Millen, the team became synonymous with dysfunction. The low point came in 2008, when Detroit became the first NFL team ever to finish 0-16. That season remains one of the most infamous in sports history. But despite decades of despair, Detroit's fan base never left, and in recent years, the team has undergone a dramatic rebirth under head coach Dan Campbell and general manager Brad Holmes. With gritty leadership, a rebuilt roster, and a fearless mindset, the Lions are no longer the league's laughingstock. They're one of its most exciting teams. Fun fact, number 1. Did you know the Detroit Lions helped create the NFL's Thanksgiving tradition? The Lions are the reason Thanksgiving football exists. In 1934, new owner George A. Richards scheduled a Thanksgiving Day game to boost attendance and secured a national radio broadcast through his station, NBC. It became an annual tradition that continues to this day. The Lions' look has always been rooted in tradition. Their primary colors, Honolulu blue and silver, have remained virtually unchanged since 1934, representing Detroit's heritage and resilience. The team's first uniforms were simple blue jerseys with silver helmets and pants, a look that has stood the test of time. Over the decades, the Lions have introduced several alternate designs, including black-trimmed uniforms in the early 2000s and modernized fonts in 2017. The iconic Leaping Lion logo debuted in 1961 and has evolved slightly through the years, but it remains one of the NFL's most recognizable symbols. The Lions' home stadium history mirrors their evolution as a franchise. They played at Tiger Stadium from 1938 to 1974, a venue they shared with baseball's Detroit Tigers. From 1975 to 2001, the Lions moved to the Pontiac Silverdome, one of the largest stadiums in football at the time. The Silverdome hosted Super Bowl XVI and became synonymous with the Barry Sanders era. In 2002, the team relocated downtown to Ford Field, a state-of-the-art indoor stadium that finally brought football back to the heart of Detroit. Ford Field's intimate design and raucous atmosphere have made it one of the loudest venues in the NFL, especially in the team's recent resurgence. Fun fact, number 2, did you know the Lions have hosted 2 Super Bowls, but never played in one? Detroit hosted Super Bowl XVI 1982 at the Pontiac Silverdome and Super Bowl 40 2006 at Ford Field. Ironically, despite being the home team twice, the Lions have yet to make a single Super Bowl appearance. The Lions' early dominance came in the 1950s when they were one of the NFL's premier teams. Behind Bobby Lane's leadership, Doak Walker's versatility, and a punishing defense, Detroit captured 3 championships in 6 seasons. The 1953 team, in particular, remains one of the best in franchise history, edging the Cleveland Browns for back-to-back titles. In the modern era, the most celebrated Lion remains Barry Sanders. His 1997 season is still considered one of the greatest ever by a running back, over 2,000 yards, an MVP trophy, and countless highlight reel runs that defied physics. Even though the team never reached the Super Bowl, Sanders' career made Detroit must-watch television. Another iconic era came with Calvin Johnson, known as Megatron. Drafted in 2007, Johnson became one of the most dominant wide receivers in NFL history, setting the single-season record for receiving yards in 2012 with 1,964 yards. Like Sanders, he retired early, citing frustration with losing, but his legacy remains immortal in Detroit. Most recently, the Lions' 2023 season marked a turning point for the franchise. Dan Campbell's team won 12 games, their most since 1991, and reached the NFC Championship game for the first time in over 30 years. Led by quarterback Jared Goff, wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, and edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson, the Lions proved they could compete with the NFL's elite. While they fell short of the Super Bowl, it felt like the dawn of a new era in Motown. Fun fact number 3. Did you know the Lions played in the first NFL playoff game decided by sudden death? In 1952, the Lions defeated the Los Angeles Rams 31-21 in the Western Conference playoff, the first postseason game in NFL history to be decided in sudden death overtime. Few franchises have suffered heartbreak like the Lions. After trading Bobby Lane in 1958, the team endured decades of futility. From 1958 to 1990, Detroit won only one playoff game. The 2000s were the darkest stretch in team history. The Lions' 0-16 season in 2008 remains one of the NFL's most infamous records. Between 2001 and 2010, the team went through 6 head coaches and countless quarterback changes, never posting a winning season. Barry Sanders' sudden retirement in 1999 and Calvin Johnson's early exit in 2016 only added to the sense of hopelessness that defined the franchise. Even in moments of promise, heartbreak struck. In the 1991 NFC Championship, the Lions fell to Washington, missing their best chance to reach the Super Bowl. In 2014, a controversial officiating call in a playoff game against Dallas ended another hopeful season. Fun fact number 4. Did you know the curse of Bobby Lane might actually have roots in truth? When quarterback Bobby Lane was traded to Pittsburgh in 1958, he allegedly declared, "The Lions will not win for 50 years." While most treat it as a myth, the team indeed didn't win a playoff game for nearly 50 years, until 1991, 33 years later, and didn't truly become competitive again until the 2020s. The Detroit Lions have produced some of the NFL's most iconic players, stars whose brilliance has often outshined the team's struggles. In the 1950s, Bobby Lane and Doak Walker led the Lions to 3 NFL championships, embodying the toughness and grit of old-school Detroit football. Lane's swagger and Walker's versatility made them legends of the franchise's golden age. The modern era's greatest Lion is Barry Sanders, one of the most electrifying players in NFL history. His dazzling agility and humility made him a fan favorite, and his 2,053-yard MVP season in 1997 remains one of the most dominant ever. 2 decades later, Calvin Megatron Johnson became the next superstar. At 6 feet 5 inches with rare speed and athleticism, Johnson set the NFL single-season receiving record, 1,964 yards in 2012, and was nearly impossible to defend. Like Sanders, he retired early, leaving fans wondering what more could have been. Defensively, players like Alex Karras, Lem Barney, and Chris Spielman defined toughness and leadership in their eras. Karras was both a feared lineman and a larger-than-life personality, while Barney's smooth coverage earned him a Hall of Fame nod, and Spielman became the heart of Detroit's defense in the 1990s. The new generation has carried the torch. Quarterback Matthew Stafford gave Detroit stability for over a decade and led the team to multiple playoff runs before his trade to Los Angeles. Today, stars like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Aiden Hutchinson have become the face of Dan Campbell's gritty revival. Players built in the image of Detroit itself. Fearless, hardworking, and relentless from Lane to Sanders, from Megatron to Hutchinson, the Lions icons tell a story of greatness, perseverance, and pride. Proof that even in the toughest times, Detroit football has always had stars worth roaring for. Fun fact number 5. Did you know Barry Sanders was a Heisman winner who almost didn't go pro? Before declaring for the 1989 NFL draft, Barry Sanders seriously considered staying at Oklahoma State for his senior year. His father and coach persuaded him to enter, and Detroit selected him third overall, changing the franchise's history forever. The Lions' coaching history has seen everything: championship success, decades of instability, and finally a resurgence in the modern era. The franchise's golden age came under Buddy Parker, who led Detroit to back-to-back NFL championships in 1952 and 1953. Known for his fiery style, Parker built tough, disciplined teams led by Bobby Lane and Doak Walker. His abrupt resignation in 1957 paved the way for George Wilson, who stepped in and guided the Lions to their third title that same season, the last championship in franchise history. After that, consistency vanished. The Lions cycled through a series of coaches in the 1960s and 1970s, including Hall of Fame linebacker Joe Schmidt and Monty Clark, who oversaw the team's move from Tiger Stadium to the Pontiac Silverdome. Clark's era brought one memorable moment in 1983. Him kneeling on the sideline in prayer as a last-second field goal attempt ended Detroit's playoff hopes. The late 80s and early 90s belonged to Wayne Fontes, the charismatic coach who led Detroit to its last division title and an NFC championship appearance in 1991. His tenure, like the team itself, was full of highs and lows, but he remains the franchise's winningest coach. The 2000s were a revolving door. Bobby Ross and Steve Mariucci couldn't turn things around, while Rod Marinelli's stint ended with the infamous 0-16 season in 2008. Jim Schwartz helped the Lions climb out of that hole, leading them back to the playoffs in 2011 before inconsistency cost him his job. Jim Caldwell then brought much-needed stability, producing 3 winning seasons and 2 playoff appearances between 2014 and 2017. His surprising firing after a 9-7 year remains controversial. The Matt Patricia era, 2018 to 2020, was a disaster marked by internal strife and regression. But in 2021, everything changed when the Lions hired Dan Campbell. A former player with a fiery personality and genuine passion, Campbell immediately transformed the culture. His authenticity and leadership have rebuilt the franchise from the ground up, guiding the Lions to their first division title in over 30 years and an NFC championship appearance. From Buddy Parker's championships to Dan Campbell's modern revival, the Lions' coaching history tells a story of grit, reinvention, and a franchise finally rediscovering its roar. The Detroit Lions entered the 2025 NFL Draft, focused on reloading their trenches and adding depth to key skill positions with their first-round pick at number 28 overall. The Lions selected Tyleik Williams, a powerful defensive tackle from Ohio State. Williams brings size, strength, and quickness to the middle of Detroit's defensive line and is expected to make an immediate impact alongside Aiden Hutchinson. In the second round with pick number 57, Detroit turned its attention to the offensive line, drafting Tate Ratledge, a tough, technically sound guard from Georgia known for his run blocking and leadership. Ratledge adds depth and long-term stability to one of the league's best offensive fronts. The Lions kept their focus on offense in the third round, selecting Isaac Tesla, a wide receiver from Arkansas who offers a mix of speed and size as a vertical threat. He gives quarterback Jared Goff another weapon in the passing game, complementing Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. After skipping the fourth round, Detroit returned to the draft board in the fifth round, number 171, to grab Miles Frazier, a versatile guard from LSU. Frazier provides additional depth across multiple offensive line spots, giving the Lions valuable flexibility. On day 3, Detroit added some developmental prospects with upside. In the sixth round, the team selected Ahmed Hassanin, an edge rusher from Boise State. Though raw, Hassanin's athleticism and motor make him a player worth watching as a future rotational pass rusher. The Lions wrapped up their draft with 2 seventh-round picks, first selecting Dan Jackson, a safety from Georgia known for his intelligence, tackling, and special teams prowess, and then Dominic Lovett, a dynamic wide receiver from Georgia with speed to stretch the field and create mismatches in the slot. In total, the Lions' 2025 draft class reflected their identity under Dan Campbell, physical, disciplined, and built through the trenches. Williams and Ratledge headline the class as immediate contributors, while Tesla, Lovett, and Hassanin bring explosive athleticism and developmental potential. With solid depth across offense and defense, Detroit's draft earned high marks for continuing to build a balanced, playoff-caliber roster poised to compete in the NFC for years to come. From Bobby Lane's championships to Barry Sanders' brilliance, from decades of despair to Dan Campbell's renaissance, the Detroit Lions have endured it all. They've been cursed, mocked, and written off, but never broken. Now, for the first time in generations, Detroit stands on the brink of something special. The question is no longer whether the Lions can compete. It's whether they can finally finish the job. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Spotlight Stories NFL, where every team has a story and we put them under the spotlight.